The Toronto Raptors had some pretty high expectations going into this season, and so far, it's been a little bit disappointing as the Raptors show an inability to really put any sort of win streak together. So in today's video, I'm going to be going through the big changes that this team needs to make if it want to get anywhere close to the 48 wins that it achieved last season. Let's get into it. What's going on, NBA and Raptors fans? It's Jacob here, back with Amateur Hour Sports, your source for the greatest coverage and analysis on the latest Toronto Raptors news. I do videos like this when the Raptors do not have a game, and on game days, I'm doing live stream watch parties for those Raptors games. All this great Raptors content, almost 7 days a week. If you want to see all that, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Help me on my road to 13,000 subscribers. Want to get to that milestone by the end of 2022. We are within striking distance, and I know you will not regret it with all the great Raptors content coming your way. Also, if you find yourself enjoying this video along the way, make sure you drop a like. Gives that extra little boost to the video as we want it to hit on more recommended pages for more people to see. Only takes you a second to do, does help me out a ton. But our video today, a little bit less upbeat than the way I was just talking here. Raptors lose a pretty bad one yesterday to the Orlando Magic. Yeah, we only lost by 4 points, but we put ourselves in such a hole again. And honestly, even with the Raptors starting to come back in that game and almost completing the comeback against the Magic, the Raptors just looked so bad all the way throughout this game. It was such a frustrating watch from a fan perspective. All these things that are going wrong and all these things that just consistently are going wrong for this Raptors team. And there's 3 things in particular I want to outline over the course of today's video that are really hurting this team, and it's chase to have a high playoff seed and the goal to win a playoff series this season. All these things being derailed here, and there's question marks. I keep preaching that this is a good team, and when it's healthy, it's going to be dangerous. I mean, it is healthy right now, and it's looking dangerous in some games, and it's looking very not dangerous in some other games here. So I kind of wanted to go through the things that are just seem to me like should be easily fixable, things that the Raptors can fix here and progress on to being a good team, because I still believe that this is a good team with tons of good players. We are just not getting the most out of some of their players. Now, some of that is going to be on the individuals not really punching their weight for this team. Some of that as well needs to be on the coaching, and that's going to bring us into the first point here. I have 3 big changes that need to be made. None of the 3 changes involve trades. Trades could certainly supplement a lot of the issues that the team has, but I think the current Raptors team, with the players they have right now, are way better than they are showcasing on the court. That comes down to the first point again, coaching. I really feel like the coaching has been underwhelming to start this season. I don't think necessarily it's been as much on Nick Nurse, but he is the head coach, and you have to put quite a bit of blame on him here. But the Raptors' offensive mind with this team, Trevor Gleason, is just not getting the most out of the players on this team. When you really get a good Raptors performance from an individual offensively, you look at the box score, some eye-popping stats. It's not the result of good offensive schemes and good offensive play calling all throughout the game. It's the product of that individual just cooking consistently in isolation. And sure, to really rack up points on a consistent basis over the course of an NBA game, a lot of that does need to come in isolation, but like, other than Siakam, because Siakam is just on another planet right now the way he's playing, and yesterday he showcased that with a 13 for 27 shooting performance, 36 points, and he felt like for the first 3 quarters pretty comfortable with the way he was putting up points consistently in that game. Fourth quarter got a little bit more difficult. They started doubling Siakam. They started just collapsing in the paint. Raptors' floor spacing has been an issue, and there was no space for him again to just slash and drive through him. That is exactly where he wanted to be. Had to resort to shooting more threes. That's just not his game. But other players, like when OG's cooking in mid-range and getting to the rim really well, that's when he's putting up his points. When Fred VanVleet finally is actually hitting his 3-pointers, that's when he can rack up points here. But it's just a lot of individual stuff. And the offense, the way it is flowing, is very choppy and very ugly to watch. The half-court offense all throughout the season has just not been very good for this team. It's one of the worst half-court offenses in the entire NBA. And this is a team that has aspirations of being like a middle to high playoff seed in the Eastern Conference this year. And it's not that the play calling is bad. It's not that the schemes, the way they're drawn up, are bad. It's just that none are being used. Like the Raptors, like there was a few plays yesterday where they just dribble up the court, and whether it's Fred, whether it's Scotty, whether it's Siakam, just dribble the ball at the top for 24 seconds, and then they try to find a way to force up a shot late in the shot clock. Like, the schemes here are awful, and it's very weird to see that with, especially a Nick Nurse-led team. usually his attention to detail and his preparation is so high on the offensive end, but it just has not been there this season. And dare I say, it's reminded me of a Dwayne Casey style offense, just driven by isolation. The schemes are not there. The off-ball movement is not there. The off-ball screens are not there. We're not freeing up Fred VanVleet for catch and shoot three-point opportunities, which he is elite at. And yes, he needs to be a better shooter with what he's taking right now, which is a lot of bad shots, off balance, early in the shot clock, in transition. But like in previous years, it's a lot easier for him to hit shots consistently from three because he's getting catch and shoot opportunities as a result of an offensive play. Those things are just not happening this season, and a big reason why yesterday the Raptors really struggled offensively for much of that game. And the second point, it is Fred VanVleet. I mean, it's hard to ignore the fact that Fred VanVleet continues to struggle from a shooting standpoint. Yesterday was no different. His field goal percentages as a whole have really started to clean up, but the three-point shooting still is not there. And, you could blame a little bit of that on the roster construction because the Raptors are so heavily reliant on his three-point shooting and Gary Trent's three-point shooting that, like, when you're not getting one of those guys, it's just a huge detriment to your offense in general. And, you've been feeling that in the last 2 weeks or so. Like, the shooting has just not been there for Fred VanVleet. Thankfully, Gary Trent seems to be taking a turn for the better, especially last night where he was excellent. But VanVleet, I mean, it's down to the shot selection a lot of the time. And, this is kind of a mixed in with the play calling because we're not getting him good catch and shoot opportunities. And the ones that he does get, like there was one against the Celtics that he missed from the corner that you guys are probably thinking about right now. But that's like, wow, he actually got like an open corner three-point opportunity. Like, it's so rare to see that, whereas previously the Raptors would run plays dedicated to getting Fred an open three-point shot from the corner. Pascal Siakam, who's a decent three-point shooter, like advanced metrics, he is absolutely excellent at shooting from the left corner. He just does it like once every 5 to 10 games because we never draw up plays to try and free that up for him. We just aren't drawing up plays here. We're on Fred VanVleet right now where, yesterday there were pockets, like the end of the third quarter, Fred was excellent. He was crafty, he was getting to the rim, making some tough shots, and when he was driving in the lane, he was just moving around the defense, finding kickouts, finding passes. Like, that's where Fred VanVleet is operating at his best. Also taking shots in rhythm, which is the biggest thing, because like all of those good pockets are okay. This is the Fred VanVleet that we want. This is the guy that we've been missing. This is the guy that's going to help our team win games. And then he just derails all of that by taking a bad shot in transition for three. Like when we're in momentum, we're finally building up momentum to go and win the game, and then out of nowhere, he just shoots a three that goes way off, and you're thinking, like, what is he thinking? Why is he shooting that? Why does he continue to do these things? He knows he's not hitting these shots, yet he's continuously going out and continuing to take them. He's not playing in rhythm. It's disrupting a little bit of the flow of the offense. And going back to the first point of coaching is that, like other players, when they're struggling, they just get taken off and benched. But Fred, no matter what, is just going to always get his normal amount of minutes. And no matter how he's playing, no matter what he's doing, that is always going to remain the case, which I have found a little bit strange here. Fred was doing a lot of good things yesterday against the Magic, but a lot of those good things were really just taken away by some of the ill-advised shot attempts from him, and that has been a concern for the Raptors. Now, Fred is a guy who is excellent at shooting threes. He's just not been that right now. I think shot selection, his shot IQ needs to improve. And I think coaching, like actually setting up good offensive sets designed for him to shoot open threes, that would also help him out a little bit. So those 1 and 2 go hand in hand a little bit here. The third one is going to be quite a bit different here. This goes back to another individual player that I've spoken of in the past. And this is a player where, like the Raptors, high expectations going into the season, as I said in the intro to this video. High expectations. I mean, we want to win a playoff series this year. I think the reality is we're probably going to be a first-round exit team. Our ceiling is 100% going beyond the first round of the playoffs and possibly challenging for an Eastern Conference Finals appearance. That might be a little bit far-fetched, but we don't want to just make the playoffs and bow out in the first round again, right? And one way we were kind of planning on doing that was leaning quite heavily on the reigning Rookie of the Year in Scotty Barnes, who has just been a shell of himself this season. The previous game yesterday against the Orlando Magic was the first one in a while where his offense, once again, was struggling. He just wasn't really getting in anywhere where he could affect the game, wasn't getting in the paint, wasn't taking on guys in isolation when he had a mismatch, all these things that weren't happening. You saw much better offensively from him against the Lakers, especially 3 nights ago when we played against them at the Scotiabank Arena. But yesterday, shelled himself offensively. But that's not really what I want to talk about here because it's clear that he's a good rebounder and can score when he's engaged. But it's when he's engaged. And when he's not engaged, you don't feel it as much on offense. but my God, do you feel it on defense? And this is just another disaster defensive game for Scottie Barnes, and it caused Nick Nurse to really pull down his minutes, especially in that third quarter. Like, oh my God, this week, I have no idea what is going on with this guy. Like, he's a good defender. We saw it in college. We saw it in this first season. Sure, there was issues, but we saw this is a good defender. He's just not looking like it right now. He has been an utter disaster this week. That Monday game against the Boston Celtics that many people chalk up to a poor shooting night for Fred VanVleet is the reason we lose. Sure, that's part of it. Part of it is that third quarter where Scottie Barnes is a pylon on defense. If somebody right now sets a screen against Scottie Barnes, if they set a screen beside him, that's his play done. He's just not going to fight through that screen. He is not going to try to move off somebody. Like that's his defensive set completely finished. And he's even been vocal about that in press conferences, saying he needs to fight through screens more. He said that after the game against the Celtics. Well, in the Lakers game where the Raptors blow out the Lakers in like comfortable fashion, Scottie Barnes in his plus minus is in the double-digit negatives. When the Raptors, again, comfortably win that game. It's just baffling to me, like the lack of effort here. He's been so bad on defense, and a lot of it is just chalked up to the complete lack of effort from him on the floor. Like we just need more from him. We cannot have this. I'm struggling to come up with the words here because it is so dumbfounding to me that he can look as disinterested on defense as he does, especially yesterday against the Orlando Magic, where Franz Wagner just completely torched him possession after possession after possession, and the Raptors had no choice but to take Scottie Barnes off the floor. Like, he just was not at all looking like he had any sort of motivation to help that team win yesterday. And I don't know if it's a mental thing. I do not believe it is an injury thing, but something is definitely going on with Scottie Barnes, and it is hurting this team. So all in all, like, from point 1 to point 3, Nick Nurse is a great coach. I'm not saying we should fire him. Fred VanVleet is an excellent point guard. I'm not saying we should trade him. Scottie Barnes is an excellent forward with sky-high potential. I'm not suggesting that we trade him as well. But these are specific things that, like, if the Raptors get better coaching, better schematics on offense, they'll get more out of VanVleet. Fred will have to take less shots out of rhythm, and I think Fred himself just needs to be better in general, even more on the defensive end from yesterday. And Scottie Barnes just needs to show some form of engagement with the way the team is playing. If like people ask, is this team actually good? Like, if you fix these things, if you actually start running a proper offense and you're getting more out of VanVleet offensively, and Scottie Barnes actually gives a shit about playing defense, then this is a very good team. We're 13-13 despite dealing with injuries, despite dealing with all these problems. Yet we're 13-13 in spite of all these things. Like, absolutely, this is a good team. We just need to harness the assets that we have here, because there are a bunch of talented players here. And sure, a trade for somebody like Jakob Poeltl, who I spoke about in the video 2 days ago, that's something else that would help here. But there are the pieces in place to make this team good. We are severely underutilizing our assets. And as you can tell from the way I'm talking in this video, it is so beyond frustrating. And I really hit my boiling point with frustration yesterday. Like, we had the bad loss to OKC, to Indiana, blowouts to New Orleans, blowouts to Brooklyn, like twice to Brooklyn. But that, like, was the most frustrating loss of the season yesterday for just reasons that I believe are so fixable for this team that are not happening. That's it. I could go on forever on this, but we're going to end the video there. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed my criticism, my commentary, it's all constructive. I want these guys to succeed. I'm not trying to just bash a guy for no reason here. Understand that I believe these are good players. They just need to show more to help this team win games. If you enjoyed that, please be sure to drop a like on the video. It goes a long way to supporting. And make sure you are subscribed to the channel for more Raptors content just like this. And I'll see you again next time for another video.